And certainly a lot of the traditional models in our head of who are the, so who's sort of the advanced economies and who's not. It's been very interesting for me being in the United States and saying, the countries that have responded the best are South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the countries that have responded the worst are Italy, Spain, United States, and the UK. Welcome to the New World Order, right? This is not how we had always envisioned things, and so it will have long-term repercussions. I'm not totally sure I know what all of them are, but they will happen.
ये भैया बताइए वैक्सीन कब आएगी?
2-3 वैक्सीन है जिसमें प्रॉमिस है. एक तो अमेरिकन वैक्सीन है, एक तो चाइनीज वैक्सीन है, ऑक्सफोर्ड का एक तो वैक्सीन है. तीनों प्रॉमिसिंग लग रहा है. I don't know which one will work. हो सकता है कि all of them, हो सकता है एक निकल जाए. I don't know. लेकिन I'm very confident कि वैक्सीन कहीं ना कहीं से next year तक आ जाएगा और work करेगा. And then India has to have a plan. क्योंकि इंडिया के लिए कितना 50 करोड़ वैक्सीन, 60 करोड़ वैक्सीन जरूरत पड़ेगा. And so India has to have a plan for how do you have that much vaccination available once it becomes possible. So that's an area where has to be a lot of focus. The other thing I will say, Rahul, that I think is very important is we are entering an age of pandemics. I am confident that this is not the last large global pandemic you and I are going to see in the next 20 years.
Why do you say we're entering an age of pandemics? What is the structural reason?
Yeah, so many things have happened that have made this. So we got lucky that in the 2009 H1N1 swine flu that ended up being not so bad, even though it was a global pandemic. So what's different now than, let's say, 20 years ago? You've actually touched on several of these. Globalization, right? And so a virus that gets started somewhere spreads globally very quickly. Second is big environmental changes. All of this economic growth that China and India and many other places have had, which has been wonderful for lifting people out of poverty, has also meant encroachment into deforestation, encroachment into areas where there were more animals. And most pandemics, most disease outbreaks in humans, new ones, are jumps from animals to humans, right? So this virus has existed in bats, but there was a small change probably in the genome, and then all of a sudden it became suitable for human hosts. So I think climate change is going to make many of these things all much worse. And then, of course, the other thing that has happened with economic growth is people are eating a lot more meat. And so that also means more interactions between humans and animals. Put all of it together. If you look at the last 100 years, you can see increasing frequency of these kinds of outbreaks. And this one, of course, is the worst in 100 years. But I am confident that we're going to have more global pandemics in the upcoming years and decades. And so as we get through this one, we have to ask ourselves, how are we going to better prepare for the next one?
Thank you. Lovely chatting to you.
Be well, stay safe.
Thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me. I know you are extremely busy.
No problem. I have time.
I saw an interview of yours where you were suggesting some different ideas, and that sort of aroused my curiosity. You've been an infectious disease expert. How are you seeing this from Sweden and from Europe?
This is a disease that's spreading across the globe like a wildfire, and almost everyone in the world will be infected. But it's a very mild disease. 99% of the people who are infected will have very little symptoms or no symptoms at all. So what we're seeing now is 1% of the epidemic. The real epidemic is going on. We don't notice it really.
And now that we're in a lockdown, how do you transition out of the lockdown? What is the best strategy to come out of a lockdown Because now it's a psychological reality, the lockdown, and an actual reality. So how do you come out of that? What is the gentlest way, the smartest way from a healthcare perspective to come out of that?
And that's a very good question. And I've been asking myself, all the countries in Europe that instituted the lockdown a month ago, 2 months ago, did they ever think about the exit strategy at that time? I don't think any single country said, we'll do this lockdown, we close the schools, we close the borders, we close the restaurants. I don't think at that point they thought about how do you get out of it?
Yeah.
And now everyone is asking the same question, how do we get out of this? It has to be stepwise, I think, that you take, of the restrictions you have in India, you take one away, you soften one restriction, you wait 2-3 weeks and see what happens. Do we have more spread of the disease? Yes, we had more spread. Okay, then we take one step back, reinstitute and try another restriction if that works. So I think it will take months to really ease out of all the lockdown, but you must do it one restriction at a time and see what happens.
And what is the role of testing in all this? How should one think about and use testing?
One is clinical. Of course, in the hospital, you want to know if a patient has the infection or not, of course. But then you can follow the epidemic a bit more across the country, see if there are special geography or special people that have it. So that's for planning a little. Then we have the new tests that you're aware of. We have the old test, the PCR test, which shows that you're infected right now, that you have the disease right now. And then there's a new serology test that show if you had the disease. And that will be useful also to see who had the disease and who is now immune, probably.
And of course, the real impact and the balance here is one between economic damage and the healthcare damage. So yes. How do you think about those two aspects of this?
I think the way we have done it in Sweden is what we said. The main thing is to protect the old and the frail. They should be protected from the disease. Everything else comes second. So what we have done, we haven't completely shut down the country. Many workplaces are still open. Many people are working from home if they can. We don't have restrictions. You can go outside and meet other people outside better than in your home. Well, that's part of the answer anyway. But at some point, and I think for India, I don't know India. I've been in Delhi once at your communicable disease center in Delhi, but it's many years ago. I think you will soon create more harm than good with a severe lockdown. That's my guess.
And that's from an economic perspective.
Economic and humanitarian, yes.
And of course, there is a connection between the economic side and the healthcare side, because while you're doing this lockdown, you've got sort of your hospitals sort of under COVID watch, so to speak. In India, they've sort of decided that they're going to maintain some space in those hospitals just for COVID. So a lot of patients who have other diseases can't actually access those hospitals.
I think for India, you'd ruin your economy very quickly if you had a severe lockdown. I think it's better skip the lockdown, take care of the old and the frail people, and let the other people have the infection. Most people will not even be sick. They will not even notice they have it. It's a mild disease. How are you talking about this balance between disease and economy?
I think the full lockdown is damaging, and the damage increases exponentially. So the sooner you get out of the lockdown, the better it is.
I mean, you may even create more deaths by a severe lockdown than the disease will do.
Exactly. The issue in India, of course, is that we have a central government and then we have large number of state governments. Yeah. And there is a tension between these two. The central government has one view, the state governments have another view. So a lot of that slows down the sort of the discussion. The big issue in India so far has been the migrant labor. The fact that we have large numbers of people living in slums who happen to be migrant laborers. And when they've done this shutdown, they actually can't go back to their homes in the rural area. So that has created a lot of concern. food is going to become a serious problem, because we have a lot of manual laborers who depend on daily wages, and they're already in trouble because they simply are not getting those wages. And so provision of food for them at scale is a challenge that the Indian government and state governments are facing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think for you, in the situation that India is, and with the federal states and everything, I think you should have a very soft lockdown, as soft as possible.
Well, anyway, I don't want to keep you. This was useful for me.
Can I take a picture of you on my computer?
Of course, you can take a picture of me on your computer.
बाईस जून से महाराष्ट्र का सत्र विधानसभा का शुरू होने जा रहा है, और जो कोरोना की जो आज पूरी स्थिति पूरे देश में है, इसलिए असेंबली या पार्लियामेंट उसको कैसा ऑर्गेनाइज किया जाए, उसके बारे में एक चर्चा आदरणीय स्पीकर लोकसभा ओम बिरला जी से आज उसके विषय में चर्चा है। और जैसे मैं महाराष्ट्र से पहली बार अभी जो कोरोना के बाद दिल्ली आया, तो महाराष्ट्र में जो भी पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन बनी हुई है, जिसका मीडिया के माध्यम से देखे जा रहा है, ऐसी महाराष्ट्र में कोई स्थिति नहीं है। महाराष्ट्र की सरकार जिस तरह से केंद्र सरकार की जो कोविड-19 का जो सर्कुलर जो जारी की गई थी, उसके ऊपर पूरी महाराष्ट्र की सरकार ने उसके ऊपर काम किया है। और ऐसे समय में आज हम सब लोगों ने राजकीय परिभाषा बाहर रखकर, विचारधारा बाहर रखकर, हमने जिस तरह से पूरा देश कोरोना जैसे महामारी से लड़ रहा है, जूझ रहा है, ऐसे स्थिति में सबने मिलकर इस कोरोना की लड़ाई लड़ना चाहिए, ऐसा मेरा मत है। ये कोई लड़ाई कोई राजकीय लड़ाई हो नहीं सकती, क्योंकि ये देश के ऊपर संकट आया है, और ऐसे समय में राजकारण बाजू रखकर ये सब चीज़ें करना चाहिए।
सर, वहीं पर अगर बात करें तो कल राहुल गांधी जी ने भी एक बयान दिया जहां उन्होंने ये कहा है कि कांग्रेस नॉट अ की डिसीजन मेकर इन महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट, तो कैसे देखते हैं इस बयान?
उन्हें एक लाइन कोलिशन का भी बोला है, और ऊपर उनके आगे जाके राहुल जी ने ये भी कहा है कि छत्तीसगढ़ और राजस्थान में हमारी सरकार है, हम लोग वहाँ डिसीजन लेकर इस बड़ी लड़ाई से हम लड़ रहे हैं, और हम लोग डिसीजन ले रहे हैं। यहाँ पर हम खुद डिसीजन नहीं ले सकते, कोलिशन में हैं, और इसलिए उसमें उनके सेंटेंस का जिस तरह से कि राहुल जी उसमें महाराष्ट्र में काम अच्छा नहीं हो रहा और इसलिए ये हो रहा है, उसमें कोई इसमें बात नहीं। एकदम हम लोगों का एक समान प्रोग्राम जो महाविकास आघाड़ी जो बनी हुई है, जिसमें सोनिया जी, शरद पवार जी और उद्धव जी, ये तीन लोगों ने मिलकर एक सम विचार और विकास का जो ये बनाया, एजेंडा बनाया, उसके आधार पर महाराष्ट्र की सरकार शुरू है। और मैं स्पीकर इस नाते से मैं इतना ही कहूँगा कि मैं पॉलिटिकल व्यवस्था में इनकी जो भी है, जो चर्चाएं चल रही है, उसमें मैं पढ़ना नहीं चाहता, लेकिन जो स्थिति महाराष्ट्र में है वो कोई भी सरकार के विरोध में नहीं है, और अपोजिशन और ये जो रूलिंग गवर्नमेंट जो है, ये दोनों ने मिलकर काम करना चाहिए। मैंने शुरुआत में कहा कि ये राजकारण का समय नहीं है, कोविड से लड़ने का, कोरोना से लड़ने का एक समय है, लोगों की जान बचाने का ये समय है।
सर, वहीं पे अगर नितिन राव ने बयान दिया जहाँ उन्होंने ये कहा कि विदेश से हवाई जहाज के माध्यम से कई यात्री मुंबई में उतरे और उन्होंने कोरोना को मुंबई में फैलाया, तब सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ये समझ में नहीं आया कि वहाँ हवाई जहाज की यात्रा से तुरंत रोका जाए उनको। उन्होंने पार्लियामेंट भी शुरू रखा है, तो कैसे देखा कैसे देखते हैं इसके
अच्छा, मूल सब्जेक्ट ऐसा है कि देश के प्रधानमंत्री जी भी बार बार कह रहे हैं कि WHO का हम लोगों को जो भी ये आता है, अलर्ट आता है, उसके आधार पे हम लोग ये सब जो एडवाइजरी डिक्लेयर की है उसके आधार पे कर रहे हैं, ऐसे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बार बार कहा है। मैं इस राजकारण में नहीं पढ़ना चाहता, लेकिन 31 जनवरी को WHO ने हिंदुस्तान की सरकार को अलर्ट किया था कि आप देश की सभी सीमाओं को सील किया जाए, जिससे ये कोरोना इंडिया में ना पहुँचे। तो हमने WHO के उस समय अगर उस अलर्ट को अगर हम लोगों ने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया रहता और उस तरफ से काम किया रहता, तो निश्चित रूप से देश में इस तरह की बीमारी नहीं फैलती, क्योंकि ये